Hey, let's get toasted today on the Whiskey Tank. Hi, welcome to the Whiskey Tank. I'm Joe. If this is your first time checking out the channel, welcome. If you're a return viewer, thanks for stopping back by. I really appreciate you checking another video. Today is going to be kind of a second part of one that I did before for solo blind called Bougie Double Oaked. If you haven't seen that one yet, follow this link up here and go check that one out because that was a fun one where I looked at some of the harder to get double oaks to see which one I like the best. Now there's a distinct difference between what I'm talking about here with these toasted barrel bourbons versus a double oaked bourbon. They're similar, kind of the same but different. Now I just want to give you a quick rundown of the whiskeys that are going to be in today's blind, and that's Penelope over here, standing at a stout 100 proof, this toasted barrel from Penelope, and then we go over to 108.6 for Peerless toasted. Then we move over to this 91.4 Michter's toasted barrel, and then finally 94 proof with this Elijah Craig toasted barrel. Now that we've kind of pointed out who's going to be competing in today's blind, let me talk about a little bit about what toasted barrel means. One of the rules with bourbon is it's got to be aged in new charred oak barrels. That's a rule. It has to be. Now there's no time consideration for that. It can go in, you can dump it right back out, but that's a waste of a new charred oak barrel. So let's talk about that charring process. So charring is when you expose the inside of a barrel to extremely high flame, and that usually goes between 15 to 45 seconds. 15, 30, 35, and 45. 15 being 1 and 4 being the 45 for an alligator char, and that's kind of what Wild Turkey's famous for, is doing the alligator char. Now some places also toast their barrel first, and that kind of brings out some other flavors in their mind of that wood. So what toasting is instead of that high intense flame, you're heating the inside of a barrel. So what some places are doing is they will toast that inside of the barrel like for 12 minutes to 24 minutes. And speaking of that, let's talk about the elephant in the room. So this whiskey, this Jack Daniel's single barrel, heritage barrel, toasted barrel, that's a whole bunch of barrels. Whiskey, this thing took the whiskey world by storm last year, right? So a lot of people are saying this was on some people's list for whiskey of the year. I mean, it really is a fantastic whiskey. Well, why isn't this in my toasted blind? That's because it's not aged in a second toasted barrel. This whiskey is aged in a Jack Daniel's style for toasted barrels. That means it gets toasted for 24 minutes and then is flash fired. So it just gets exposed quickly to high heat. So it does still meet the requirements of a Tennessee whiskey by being aged in a new charred oak barrel, because it is charred. It's just really kind of lightly kissed with that fire, and the majority of the flavors coming from the toasting process. So what does that toasting process actually bring to the table? Well, that's bringing in your vanillas, right? Your marshmallows, your sweet sugars. That's what a lot of people think you're getting out of these toasted barrels, is instead of getting that char, which kind of interesting with that char too, that char actually filters the whiskey, kind of like charcoal does. It kind of filters the whiskey as it's going in and out of the wood in the aging process. So you're getting filtered whiskey with that too. Toasting does not filter the whiskey at all. So all your filtration of that whiskey is coming through in the original charred oak aging in that new charred oak barrel. That secondary barrel, which can be toasted for like 45 minutes, that is doing its aging process and isn't adding any of that, but it's adding a lot of those sweet marshmallow flavors and that sweet sugary and all those vanillas and just all those really interesting flavors you get from toasting. So I didn't think it would be right to put this bottle into this blind just because this one's toasting process is different than the others. This is a brand new process that they're doing. Jack Daniel's is the only one doing this. So they toast for 24 minutes, lightly kiss it with a little char, and then age the whiskey the entire time in that same barrel. No secondary barrel for use for this. So if you're hating on me for not having this one in, that's why. All these other ones were aged in a second toasted barrel. With all that being said, I still couldn't skip out on having a sip of it. I mean, come on, really, it's one of my favorite whiskeys. It's so damn good. That's a whole other video for that one, and I'll get it out there to you guys because this is a gosh dang good whiskey. All right, those of you who have been watching the channel for a little while, you know how this thing works, so I'm not going to bore you to death with doing it again. I'm just going to give this a spin. It's already poured in here, and I'm going to get these glasses on the table. Okay, there we go. Now let's go ahead and get in this first one. There's a little hint of graininess in here with the toast. So I'm expecting a lot of vanillas and like marshmallowy type smells. So I am getting that in here. So I'm trying to look at what I'm seeing just a little bit different outside of those smells, right? Because these are all toasted. They all should have kind of like those smells. And I'm just getting a little hint of grain on this. And of course I'm getting a lot of vanilla on this. There's some oakiness. Of course there's oakiness. There's a nice sugary sweetness in here too. Almost like it might be like a bready sweetness, like a I don't want to say graham cracker, but something in the bread family. Like there's a yeastiness here too. All right, enough nose and let's get this thing on the palate. Super sweet, super approachable. I'm gonna dare say that this is lower, if not well lower, than the 100 proof Jack Daniel's Heritage Toasted Barrel that I just tried to warm up my palate. Of course, it can't be that much because I'm ranging between 91.4 proof to 108.6, so right around 17 proof points in between the highest and the lowest whiskeys that are in this line today. So it can't be much lower than that, but this drinks like water. I mean, it's just absolutely super easy to sip on. So whatever this is, it's definitely a very approachable starter whiskey for anybody. I mean, it's all around just a decent approachable whiskey. A lot of sweetness in there, not a lot of finish on it. The finish isn't very long. Let me get into the second glass. Actually, let me get a drink. Okay, I like the nose in this glass a little bit more. This is more intense. There's a sweetness in there, some kind of a fruit that I'm getting too on this, but it's definitely got all that vanilla, and it's a little Werthery. Werthersy? Is that a word? If not, Werthersy isn't a word, it should be. But let me go ahead and get this one on the palate. This glass has a much more intense caramel candy, like a hard candy, like a Werther's type thing, is what I'm getting off from this glass as far as like the sip. The finish is a little bit stronger and longer for me in this too, and it's definitely got oak on the finish. This drinks, I mean, pretty decent. The mouthfeel on it's decent. It's semi-coating, but it still feels a little bit thinner than some of the whiskeys that I've been drinking. It definitely feels thinner than that Jack Daniel's Heritage, I'll tell you that much. Overall, this is a really respectable whiskey, really pleasant whiskey. All right, let's go ahead and move on to glass 3. Out of the other 2 glasses that I've smelled so far, this has the most double oaky nose. And so by that I mean it's got more of there's some raisins in here. There's definitely some toastedness, I guess would be one way to say it. But there's definitely, like, I get some of those double oak smells. It's not full on double oak, so I'm not getting so much of that like balsamic vinegar that I get sometimes with double oaks. But it definitely is giving some of those raisin smells on it. Along with, there's some oak, but it smells kind of like young oak on here. There's a little bit of graininess underneath all that some of that raisiness. But let's go ahead and get this on the palate. So you initially just get sweetness. Now this also feels like a thinner whiskey, but you're getting some of that sweetness that just kind of washes over the tongue. There's definitely some sugars there, some vanillas and some caramel that come along with that. Just, you know, your regular kind of things that you would expect in a whiskey. But there's a really bright sugary sweetness that I'm getting on the sides of my tongue. It's really pleasant, but there is some of that youthful graininess. So it tastes like a younger whiskey to me for whatever reason, but I'm getting some of that like a little bit of a new wood bite, you know, I guess it would, what I would call it, you know, some of that kind of youthfulness, that graininess that just kind of leads it to be just a little bit tannic on the finish for me, which is just unfortunately kind of shaping my opinion of that. All right, let's go ahead and get into the last glass. This is the most different out of these noses. There's almost like a funky, spoily smell, but again, it's not in a bad way. That's I kind of get like a hooch smell on this. There's like I say spoiled, but I'm not trying to say that like in a bad way. It's just got there's a lot of something going on as far as like some kind of a funk underneath everything, like that you get sometimes in a rum. Yeah, there's like a yeastiness or something in this. It's weird, but it smells almost like an American single malt type of nose to me. So it's definitely got a different nose than what I've had so far. They've all been slightly different, but I'm not getting a lot of the classic like caramel vanillas. I'm not getting a lot of that. I'm telling you, it's almost like an American single malt. But very interesting. All right, let's get this on the palate. Okay, that definitely brought the flavor. This is the most intense palate. It also feels like it's got a little kick to it too, a little bit more proof on it. This has got a little bit of something in there. There's a definite sweetness, there's a fruit sweetness that's coming with this too, but there's almost like a creme brulee crystal sugar, like that crack of a creme brulee type. You know, you're cracking that sugar and it's like almost rock sugar. It's a distinct sweetness at the front of my tongue. There's no bitterness or anything like that in this. There's no kind of like unexpected kick to come through on it. It's just sugary sweetness with some fruit flavors. Now, to be fair, guys, I'm gonna go back through these in a reverse order just so I make sure that, you know, I wasn't kind of like thrown off by the fact that I was drinking something in a certain order. If there's nothing that kind of like really displays itself to me there that I think is super interesting, I'm just gonna come back and give you guys the results of what I'm picking. All right, I think I've split the atom enough in my own head and tried to figure out everything I can figure out about these. Let me just give you a little breakdown of kind of like what I got after going back through these. So this first glass here, the fourth glass, is the most like an American single malt to me and not so much like a toasted, okay? So it's getting some interesting flavors. I just don't think it's right for this group. There's something off about it. It's got some of those flavors that maybe if I was in the mood for an American single malt, sit down, enjoy, and do all that stuff, because I'm getting some fruits with it, some strawberries, some raspberries, some different things like that, but it's not like what I would consider a toasted. I'm not getting those vanillas and caramels and marshmallows and all those yummy sugary things. I'm getting a different funky fruit. So that kind of, and you know, going back through and revisiting them and getting back into these truly these taste profiles that remind me of toasted barrels. This one just is the outlier for me. So this one here is going to be my fourth place. In going through these three were much closer. The one thing I will say is with this glass here, that's giving kind of a winter Christmassy type vibe, to where there's something almost herbal or rye-like with it that is just, it gives kind of like that perk up. It's interesting, but again, I think it's muting out some of those true toasted barrel flavors. So I'm not getting as much in here. And it just seems like the nose in this is a little muted, the palate on this is a little muted, the finish is just not really hitting right for me. So for that reason, this one's gonna be my third place toasted barrel bourbon today. Now that leads me to these two. These two are much harder. Both of these glasses presented well. The first time going through, this glass here had the most raisiny, marshmallowy, toasted nose out of this whole lineup. But when I went back through them and maybe had this one completely screw up my palate for me, I hit this one again and it was very plummy, very raisiny, very jammy. The mouthfeel on both of these were very similar. They didn't really have a lot of viscosity on them, but they were decent, right? So they weren't anything that was super coating. I didn't have anything like that. I think if I remember right, when I was doing that bougie double oak blind, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. I had the same thing. It's kind of some watery palates on these, and I might just be getting myself screwed up by drinking all this high proof whiskey that just other whiskeys don't taste like viscous to me anymore. But either way, that was an even playing field for both of these. So I went with the one as my first place that had the most flavor packed in the package that I was getting, and that's gonna have to be this glass. So this glass here is my second, my first. So my order is going to be first, second, third, and fourth. All right, did I pick what you thought I would pick? I don't know if I picked what I thought I would pick. I will say one thing is all these are drinking roughly around the same proof for me. So, I mean, let that be what it is. There wasn't really any indication there. So let me go ahead first and find out what my fourth place finish is. And fourth place is Penelope. Okay. That's a little surprising. I actually thought this was the Peerless. I thought some of those funky fruit flavors that was coming through had to do something with their process, or maybe it was the higher proof. But this is the 100 proofer. This drank different to me. Maybe it has to do with it being a 4 grain. I think that Penelopes are 4 grains. I'm pretty sure that most Penelopes are a 4 grain mash bill, and so that could be something with it. But I really honestly thought this was the Peerless. But yeah, it's Penelope anyways. It doesn't matter what I thought it was. Let's see what this one is. Speaking of Peerless, it's this one. You were a deceitful little girl, weren't you? This thing did not drink its proof. It drank under its proof. I'm gonna have to, when I watch this again, I'm gonna have to go and see what my initial thoughts were on it when I got into the glass. But it did not drink super high proof for me for whatever reason. That's 108.6 proof. So these are my two high proofers, which means one of these is a allocated bottle that's hard to get, and the other one's pretty much a shelf stable bottle. At least I see it on the shelf all the time up here. So let's see which ones we got. All right, let's go ahead and see what second place is, which is gonna tell us what first place is anyways. It's Elijah Craig Toasted, so very respectable job by Elijah Craig. This is probably the most inexpensive bottle on the table, and it was fighting neck and neck with what must be the Michters, and so this is the Michters here. Yep, that's the Michters. So this is better than I remembered it too. This one just came through with a lot of those really interesting, almost double oaked flavors, but it was sugary. I mean, it was just a little bit more sugar intense and less oaky, and that's like the main difference. But the nose was nice and jammy. I got a lot of like that, was like plum or like raisin jammy type smells. Maybe even like borderline fig is what I was getting on this. So overall, guys, this is what I got for my toasted barrel bourbons. All right, what would you have picked? Have you tried any of these? If you did try them, which ones do you like? I mean, hey, I'm most impressed by this glass right here, this Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel, because this isn't the barrel proof either. This is just your regular shelf bottle that they have out now. So this thing did a pretty damn good job going up against some of these harder to find bottles. So that's pretty impressive, but I got to give the nod ultimately to this Michter's Toasted Barrel. Oh yeah, this got a really good nose. And just a pleasant sip of whiskey. Guys, until next time, cheers from the whiskey tank.